There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Nan Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fifth Dimension, a Twilight Zone podcast. I am your host, Nick, of course, or Nick as always. Whatever Jacob wants me to call myself each night, I have no idea. I'll just go
Each
Nick,
night?
of course.
You guys
Yeah.
spend time together every night?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
actually, at this point, I think I spend more time with you guys than I do with like anyone else. So,
Aw.
if we're not watching a film, it's like, hey, let's record a podcast or do a show and all that good stuff. So
Remember that 1 week that we skipped? We
Mhm.
skipped the show for 1 week. I felt like something was wrong. And we like all didn't, there was no reason that we had to get together. I remember at one point I was like, I feel like I've forgotten something. And I was always like, hey guys, what are you doing? No reason. Just wondering what you guys doing. You want to hook up a Zoom call? I don't know.
Jake's sitting by the window
Missing
singing,
you guys.
somewhere out there beneath the pale moonlight.
Yeah, that's
I was
what
gonna
it
say,
was.
have
It
you
was
seen
just
that
like that. As it
sad
slowly
Keanu
panned in on
Reeves?
me.
Sad Keanu Reeves? I don't think I have.
I was going the wrong way. Supposed to go.
Near?
You're supposed to be singing, but it was
Oh, okay. Somewhere out there beneath the pale moonlight.
Oh my god.
Right.
So, anyways,
Jesus.
we are a Twilight Zone podcast. We're here to talk about Rod Serling's famous, influential show of all time, or one of them at least. We're here to talk a Christmas episode in the middle of August. You know how they do.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of works out that way.
It's Christmas in July, but August.
Yes.
I know, right? It's hot
Christmas
as hell.
in July plus like a month.
Well, it's cool.
Yeah.
As always,
somewhere.
we are on audio feeds like Audio Boom and Testy.tv and Anchor and iTunes.
The list just gets
SoundCloud.
weirder every week. I mean,
Audio boom.
Yeah,
The
Audio
one I
Boom.
always remember.
Before we get into why this episode is special, I gotta introduce my co-host, of course. We got Triv and her anal raccoon sitting to my, I think, would that be my left or right? I don't know. She's like over here somewhere.
am
You
I?
know, when you,
Weird.
yeah. So what's up, Triv? How you doing?
You know what? Not doing too bad. Yeah, it's Christmas in July plus 30 days. Awesome.
I know, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then
I
Jacob's
see my
like, somewhere
dandruff
down here.
is in the background of your shot there.
I know. She's like, this is Triv. This is Triv. He's like, shh. Jacob, I think I saw you earlier today. How you doing?
You may have. I'm
Yeah,
doing pretty
I
well.
can't remember
I'm doing-
anymore.
Doing about the same as I was earlier today. Just, chilling, doing my thing out here.
Yeah.
Jeff. Jeff.
He's still blinking,
Okay.
still alive.
Just doing his thing,
Yeah.
Good. How about you guys? Doing good today?
Yeah.
Welcome
And
to
then
the
of
channel.
course, right. And then of course,
He's got crazy eyes.
yeah, crazy eyes. And of course, we have a returning guest host. This is of course one of our favorite guest hosts because she is willing to, put us in our place, all that good stuff, and
Hell yeah.
yeah,
As I
tell us
should.
how it is, especially when it
Alex
comes to
per
Twilight Zone.
usual.
Yeah.
Nick as always. Jake as usual. Alex per usual. Triv.
Sometimes usual.
Triv. Abby normal.
Bitches, there's nothing usual.
Triv
about
bitches.
me.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. There it is. There's our lead in. There's our lead up right there. Nick as
Right.
always. Jake as usual. What did I say yours was, Alex? Alex per usual. Per usual. I like anytime you put the word per in there. And Triv bitches.
Next it's Triv B itches.
B itches. Triv B itches. It's kind of like that whole, anticipation thing. For
Antissa.
those of you that didn't get it.
patient.
Jeez.
So, anyways, Alex is a lover of Her Chance to Dream, so that's definitely why we brought her back. She's replacing
Yay.
Jacob next week, so
You don't
the
have
stink
to
eye.
like it.
I knew I set that up
do.
for a reason. You know what? And I'm happy that you guys find joy in that. I'm very, very happy that joy is brought into the world by something for you guys.
Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, 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 joy, joy, joy. Da, da. By Blammo.
No, that's wood. That's a log. Happy joy is a song.
Shit.
Log is log rolls downstairs over in pairs over your neighbor's dog. It's great for a snack. It fits on your back. It's log.
Come on.
Okay,
get it.
Alex, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Alex has no idea what we're talking about.
Nope.
Luckily, she
Log.
doesn't know
So-
our insane nature of insanity till
It's
now.
the
Yes, she
greatest
does.
children's toy ever, log.
Yes. Which actually does play into this week's episode, but that's another story for another day.
Yule log.
Yay, Alex, we're so
Ooh.
excited to have you here.
I know it's
Hello.
awesome. You know,
Woo!
you haven't been on since when was that season? It was season 1. It was Elegy, and how far back was that
15
actually?
or 16, I think.
20.
Wasn't it?
Oh my
Was
god,
it
it's been
20?
so 20, 30, so 27 episodes, I think.
Holy
my
shit.
30s. Yeah, my
Damn.
math is not good. Or it's 37
Damn.
no, 27 episodes. So how's life been since Elegy?
Better,
Better?
I guess. I don't know. But
Have you-
thank you for having me. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that there aren't any more life circumstances that it can keep me away from being on this podcast tonight.
Oh my god.
hope.
It was like it was
Podcast
like
is not over yet.
I'm
fact that,
sending
like-
out good vibes, Jake. Let me have
Yes.
this.
Send them out.
yeah, it's kind of nice that we were finally able to get you on, because we've been struggling to find, you know, a way to get you on, because, you know, you were supposed to come on for Eye of the Beholder originally, and I got COVID, and yeah, things just kind of was off the rails for, you know, however long. So
A month.
I'm glad you came
Yeah.
on for this
It was a
quality
month.
episode. So
Yes.
Said a month. I've
um,
been waiting this whole time. You son of a bitch.
I've done nothing else.
Exactly.
know.
Wait.
You and your
literally just been
COVID.
sitting
You've
there.
been waiting right there this whole time.
Just right here.
Yeah, so anyways, thank you so much, Alex, for coming back on again. I know you're once again, you're one of the big fans of Twilight Zone, as we've talked about in the past, so it's awesome that they come on. This episode's interesting, just for a lot of reasons, not only the videotape thing, but just how it's received in general. But I do have to say something that it's been on my mind for quite a while, and not really, but we've been doing this podcast for a while. Jacob came on episode 11. Triv, of course, I asked at the very beginning, you know, would you want to come on for a podcast to talk about Twilight Zone? I think that's one of the, like, how we connected in a lot of respects was through the Twilight Zone. And even though that we're on episode 47, as of, I'm actually posting this episode on a Tuesday, and if you're wondering why that is, if you listen, this is our official 1 year episode, or 1 year recording from when we first posted the first episode of how was that episode?
Where is everybody?
Yeah, where is everybody? So we've
Man.
hit officially 1 year of the Twilight Zone Fifth Dimension podcast.
Woohoo!
With all that buildup, with all
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
that buildup, I felt like I was about to be fired.
Well, that is the 1 year
Fired. You don't
anniversary
even get
thing.
paid. What do you
I
mean?
know. It's pro bono work.
Yeah. David
I'm not even
Zaslav
supposed to be here today.
has bought us out.
Oh, lovely.
David Zaslav and Warner Brothers has bought us out. We're having a restructuring situation.
Shit.
Son of a bitch.
But no, so in all honesty, it's kind of awesome, because, you know, having 1 year of anything, especially YouTube, you know, we've all at this point are, you know, past 1 year. I'm assuming we're all past 1 year YouTubing, but podcasting is a very different beast, in that it's very difficult to get, you know, as we've seen, especially with you, Alex, you know, trying to schedule you to come on an episode. The way podcasts work, you know, especially if you want to keep consistent, is you have to do at least one a week. Sometimes, you know, depending on schedules, but it's been very difficult, like, to schedule, because of how, you know, our schedules work out, you know, with working, and, you know, Jacob doing his chicken coops and stuff like that. And, you know, it's
Only one. I have one chicken coop. Just really big.
now he wants a horse, so, you know.
I
No,
do
I'm
want a
kidding.
horse.
He's
No,
gonna
you're not.
build
I
a
want a
chicken
horse.
coop for the horse.
Ooh, that's a good
But
idea.
yeah,
Can I
no,
do
it-
that? Somebody let me know.
but doing 1 year, I always find I think it's one of the biggest, what's that word called, achievements of anything, like creative wise,
Oh.
because it shows that
Yeah.
you've committed a whole year to do something, and that's really difficult to do. Because if you watch podcasts or watch videos, YouTube, as we've all seen, people tend to not stick around past a year. They tend to stick around a couple months. They realize how difficult it is, and they kind of quit doing it. And I've had one podcast that lasted a couple years, but the fact that we've committed to this and we've done it, 48 to 50 weeks in a row, it's something I'm very proud of. And thank you guys. Thank you guys. As I get a little emotional about
Absolutely.
it.
No, it's all good, man. It's been
yeah.
You're welcome.
as
It's been
as
fun.
the
I look
as the
forward to
vice podcast person here, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like from the start, you absolutely kick ass. Without you, we would not be here. And we've had this conversation. So Nick, you rock out loud, and it has been my absolute pleasure to be with you to this past year and everything beyond that. Jacob, what can I say?
Don't say it. Whatever it is, just don't say it.
My ass raccoon would not be the same without you. And I'm grateful that we have
Oh.
amazing guests like Alex, because you give us a different perspective. You give us a fire for Twilight Zone that we don't necessarily see every time. So we really appreciate the hell out of you. You rock out loud.
Yeah, it's
If I could make heart hands, I would, but I can't make heart hands.
yeah, it's Jacob, when I invited you on, I expected that it was going she's now poor. That's not octopus, but she's like quadrupus.
I'm a bug. I got 6 arms.
It's a bug. Yes, 6 arms.
No, but Jacob, you're also a permanent co-host, and I appreciate you coming on. I know you sit around going, oh man, I have to deal with these yahoos every week, but it's like it's no, I'm kidding. No, but it's like the funny thing about it is I've actually never met you guys in person, which is the even funnier part. And yeah, I know you guys more than I know most people that I hang around with or work with, so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so
I look forward. I genuinely do look forward to these each week. And when you guys ask me to come on, who knows? I mean, you never know. Like you said, most people don't make it a year, or they don't make it that far. Usually these things, I've been asked, hey, let's do this thing, let's do that thing by other people on some things before, but it usually looked kind of like, I don't think that's going to last, buddy. I don't know if I got time for that. But so coming on to this thing, I was like, I don't know, it might last, but it seems like I had a good time when we did it on the season, or on the episode. The hell was it? Lori's on the asteroid. Yeah, Lonely, the Lonely. Because I thought it was a different episode when I picked it, but the Lonely. When I picked that one,
You thought it was a guy in his hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
oh my god,
reflecting. But I had a good time doing it. And I said, sure, let's do this thing. Let's write it out, see how long it goes, and happy to see it. It seems like it's going the distance, and I look forward to talking to you guys each week. And we actually have, like Nick said, I mean, I talk to you guys more than I do any other people outside of my family. And hell, sometimes I talk to you guys more than them. On the day, but like we do other ventures together, and like I've met some really good people here. You guys, I've met. Yeah, I try not to get too sentimental. I'm not good at this.
That's okay.
The three
But
amigos.
Yeah.
The three amigos. We need to do that thing that they do.
I can only do a part of it, but
but yeah, like I've met my closest friends at this point, honestly, are online, which is weird to say, but it is what it is. Like Nick said, we've never met in real life, but so what does that mean?
Yeah. No, it's I promise you I'm not deflecting this episode, because this episode is at least somewhat interesting. But yeah, no, doing it, like I said, a year, it's been fun, and I can look forward to, even though we're getting closer and closer to season 4, which is kind of scary. We'll probably be like season 4 in 3 years for whatever it is. So but also thank you to everyone who listens and watches. I do appreciate it. Like I said, we put a lot of work in this, or at least we try to, and it's been fun. So anyways, this is looking forward to, I don't have a beer or wine or anything, but looking forward to another year of this podcast. So
yeah,
I just, don't ask me why I have these on my desk. But there's 2 of them.
I feel like I should ask why, because you
They are
said not
sealed.
to ask why.
Well, there's they're just here. For occasion like this, I knew one day when I brought them, I said, you will need these on a live stream and or
You
podcast.
need one of those
They're
hats.
not even refrigerated.
No, they're not. That's why I'm not drinking them. I need a hat like this with straws. Yeah, guys, let's do the podcast. Man, I wish I had thought of that. I would have totally wore that.
So anyways,
get coffee.
Yeah, right. So anyways, thank you, Triv. Thank you, Jacob. As well as you, Alex. You come on, for a couple episodes now. Thank you as well for the, coming on, and thank you for a year. So here we go. So with that said, we are talking about season 2, episode 11, which is Night of the Meek. This is an episode that is directed by Jack Smight, written by Rod Serling. Stars the famous Art Carney as Henry Corwin, John Fielder as Mr. Dundee. I have questions about him. Val Avery, Meg Wyllie, Kay Cousins Johnson, and Burt Mustin. This is an episode, once again, is the second episode in the second season that dealt on videotape. Jacob did point out, and I don't know if you guys agree, this is a much better looking videotaped episode. It feels a little more polished.
The lighting was better. They either, if it's the same people like behind the scenes, they either learned a lot on that first one, or they got a different crew doing this one who knows how to operate those cameras better. And the lighting's what did it. There were times I was like, is this video? And when it moved, that's when you could really tell. That and the sound. They do the sound different in the video episodes. The sound gave it away, and the movement. But beyond that, like the shots, that other one, as soon as it popped on, I was like, that video. This one, I was like, I don't know, I think. So yeah, much better in my opinion.
Actually, that actually brings up a good point. Alex, you've watched these episodes, especially the videotaped episodes. What do you think about this experiment? I mean, we've all kind of made our opinion about it, but what is your opinion on like why they did this and the effect of it, and like what was your feeling on it?
It's not the best, but I think it's only because I personally would have preferred the quality to have been the same overall with each episode. So I guess the inconsistency, at least with production, is definitely different. I would say the Night of the Meek in 22, in my opinion, looked relatively better in comparison to like the 6 all together. But I know even that is pretty subjective. Even when it comes to the subject matter and execution in each episode. Not just me though. I mean, I think it's okay. It's just hard to compliment its camera quality and production in the same way as the other episodes, at least to me.
I think if they all the video ones looked like this one, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. That's just me though.
Yeah, that's also true.
And now, granted, we've only watched 2 of the video episodes so far, so that's all I can remember at the moment because it's been so long since I've seen the other ones. But man, that last one was.
Yeah, because it's interesting because you go from like Lateness of the Hour, which was the last episode that we watched, it was videotape, and then we go in The Trouble with Templeton and Most Unusual Camera, which go back to film, and then you go back into this, and it's like so jarring that it makes it almost uncomfortable to watch. And maybe that's why, as we'll talk, my view of this episode is kind of hampered by that, because it's just so there's something artificial about these episodes, especially the ones on videotape, that you don't get from the film version. That's just in general, like videotape versions of anything, you can tell, even like in the early days of like film or television and stuff like that, and even some of the 80s and stuff like that, when they did this kind of stuff. But it's like there's just something weird and off-putting about it. And even in this episode, which is much better looking,
it's the sound too. The sound on the videotape episodes is done in camera. Like, I mean, they may be using boom mics and stuff, but you can tell, because last time I thought that might be what's going on, but this one you have a lot more people in background and all that, and like you hear the people walking around, like you hear everything that's going on, and it's in camera. And when they do the filmed episodes, all the audio is. They probably just have like boom mics on people where they're picking up their voices, and then they make all the other sounds like with Foley and everything. So it has a more traditional film-esque sound, and sound and audio, sound and video, it all works together. This one though, it's all in camera. I am 99% sure, because the other video episode was like that too. There just wasn't so much going on in the background. So I was like, it sounds different though. It sounds like they sound distant, and they are distant, but we're not used to. And when watching something, if somebody's over here, they don't sound that distant. Because I think they just had that one mic, and they were, it was all done on the camera, and they weren't editing any of the audio. maybe because video was new, and you said they were trying to save money. That's why they did it. So that would probably make sense. They're like, oh yeah, we get the video and the audio all in one. Yay, save money.
They literally only saved 30,000 over the course of those 6 episodes, though, and it was considered a failure. So, which is good in this case.
Yeah.
There is something kind of surreal though about the way like the shadows and stuff off the videotape goes. Like if on a episode that isn't quite as well restored, like it has that ghosting, and we've talked. I mean, you guys talked about it a bit, but I remember watching. I don't remember which one as a kid though, but it was one of the VHS eps, and it kind of creeped me out. Like there wasn't anything really particularly scary going on in the episode, but it just creeped me the hell out. I don't know why.
Well, you said because if they're shooting on video, so that means it's shooting at approximately 60 frames per second. We're used to 24 frames per second, even back then, because they were using film. So that already gives that's the soap opera effect, is the frame rate. And when you have the frame rate, you get the lighting is totally different too, because larger aperture and all that. But one of you guys with the last episode said that what they would do is they took this video and they transferred it over to
16 millimeter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's going to drop it. That's where the ghosting effect comes from. You get that ghosting effect because they're cutting frames out, and it's like artifacts here. It's all that up and down and compression and all that, or that compression of that time, not modern compression, but that's where that ghosting effect comes from. And that would be what makes it all weird looking.
Good to know.
I would
appreciate
think.
it.
I would think. I could be talking out of my ass. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that happens quite often, but I don't know if right now you are, but
well, nowadays we have ways of combating that, and they have all kinds of remastering and stuff they can do to things. But back then they were just like, oh yeah, we'll just take this and put it here, and it works.
Yeah. Well, there's so many movies and old shows that do that too. Like you can tell they're and obviously black and white and the subject matter, but just by looking at it, you can tell that it is of that era.
Yeah, when you said that, Jacob, I thought you were saying we're combating your talking out of your ass. We're trying to combat that,
Oh, for sure.
That's what I also thought, and I was gonna mention I was gonna be like,
do an
like
Ace
a puppet
Ventura real quick.
I mean, it's our year anniversary. You really should.
Ask you a question.
No.
Oh man,
we already get limited ads. I don't want to get just demonetized totally.
Fifth dimension, the height of class and ass.
Yeah, right.
I got sweatpants on, so this is gonna be very form fitting. You're gonna see all kinds of, let's just not go there today. If I had jeans on, you'd be getting that ass talk right there. I'm just saying.
You're the definition of a 90s nerd. Star Wars t-shirt and sweatpants.
Oh shit, you're right. I just need like Cheeto fingers and like a Mountain Dew.
I mean, you got,
and I'm in a basement right now. It's not my mom's basement, but it's my basement.
So with that said, Alex, what is your history with this episode? I know I'm sure you watched other episodes multiple times, but have you seen this episode more than once? Or have you seen this? I'm assuming you've seen every episode at this point, or at least I think, but what is your kind of history with this episode in general?
I've only seen it once before this. Okay. So yeah, because when I did my Twilight Zone series, I watched pretty much the entire series in full, and then I only went back to the ones I selected to talk about for the series. But I know Night of the Meek is part of an honorable mentions list that I have, so it was nice watching it again. But yeah, other than kind of talking about it for the sake of video, that would probably be the second time I've seen certain episodes, but I haven't really repeated my viewing of the entire series, at least as of yet. But
well, it's kind of cool because you put an honorable mention. I have things with this episode, so it's gonna be interesting to kind of the conversation about this episode in general. But Triv, what about you? What is your kind of history with this episode? So I know Jacob's I haven't seen this episode for 20 years. No, I'm kidding.
I remember.
I don't remember this episode at all. I'm sure I've seen it at one point. I guarantee you I have, but I don't remember anything about this one. It didn't ring any bells.
You said bells.
Am I the only one that got that?
Yeah.
Was there something to get, or did I just
No.
Never mind. Sorry.
It's all right.
Continue.
That's all I got.
Jacob. The fact that Jacob probably remembers this episode more than Triv is kind of impressive.
It should or telling, one or the other. I do remember this episode. I don't remember. I remember the basic the basic story of what was going on. I didn't remember every single detail, and I didn't remember as as far as like the quality goes, if it was good or not. I honestly just remembered the name and I remembered the episode. I did not remember the two put together. Once I started watching, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember this thing because I kept thinking of Bad Santa. This is Rod Serling's version. But yeah, I remember it. So yeah, and we'll go from there.
The Santa in this reminded me of Dan Aykroyd in Trading Spaces, Trading Places.
Trading
All
Places.
he knew was a gigantic fish.
Oh yeah.
Damn it.
So anyway, so this episode is notoriously known for not being considered a great episode. It's actually usually in the bottom of a lot of a list.
I was surprised by that, by the way.
Yeah.
I just thought that I was always under the impression, not that I remember it, just the name, Night of the Meek. I just thought that was thought of as a good episode. I didn't remember specifically hearing that name. I didn't put it with this episode so much. But I just recall people thinking favorably of that. Just saying, and then I saw it.
I mean, it's no The Fever. I'll give it at least that much. But this episode is also well known for starring Art Carney, who of course is famous for The Honeymooners and ironically Firestarter, which I didn't realize he was in that movie.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, he was in Last Action Hero as well.
He was in the Star Wars Holiday Special too.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, yes, he was the trader.
So keep that off the CD.
I think it's.
Who was he in Last Action Hero?
That's what I'm looking for right now.
I love me some Last Action Hero.
Played Uncle Frank. He played the Frank here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, who dies? Killed my favorite Uncle Frank.
So with that said, this episode opens up in a department store, and as Jacob and everyone has alluded to, this very much has a feel of Bad Santa / Trading Places. This guy just isn't showing up. These people are waiting to see Santa in a department store, and that's when we're introduced to Mr. Dundee, who is quite something of a character in this episode. I don't really understand what they're going for with his character, but he's stressing out because Corwin, who is playing the mall Santa, hasn't shown up. And as we do in most Twilight Zone episodes, because apparently everyone needs a drink in the Twilight Zone, we go to a bar, and this is when we're introduced to Henry Corwin, who is basically sloshed and kind of just in this bar. And two kids are banging on the door, trying to get Santa's attention, and he's like, and that type of thing. And there's a whole thing about 6 drinks and a sandwich is only $3.80, and I'm like, man, $3.80 can't even get you a tank of gas at this point, but
it couldn't then either, really.
Yeah, that'll be the
Alex actually
section.
Brought up a really good point about Henry Corwin,
yeah,
the fact that he's got all the booze and he didn't eat the sandwich.
Well, yeah. The bartender mentions that he's like, just eat your sandwich, and he tries to steal the bottle of booze before he's kicked out. He's trying to do it sneaky. He's trying to do what Dan Aykroyd does in Trading Places. He's like, just putting it in his pocket. He's growling at people and stuff like that. But he walks out in the middle of the street. He doesn't even, we haven't even gotten to the department store outside that first segment, but he walks out in the middle of the street. He's drunk as a skunk, as I wrote. Kids watch
and
as
hungry, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't eat the fucking sandwich.
Exactly.
He forgot about it. He walked out. I was like, who's got my fucking sandwich? You son of a bitch.
Apparently taking food out wasn't a thing in the 60s. Apparently. Okay, sorry. My bad.
No, it's true.
Oh,
you know what? You know what? Let's just talk about the sandwich. That poor sandwich didn't get
that
eaten.
Poor fucking sandwich.
The sandwich.
Especially
If you're gonna
Christmas.
eat it, give it to the bartender.
Right?
At least take one bite. You paid for it.
Yeah, it's like when
Now
you go to a restaurant and they fill your drink right before you're about to leave, and you're like, shit. And you asked for it, but they took forever to get there, and then you feel guilty if you leave with it full. You got to be like, man, I've got to pee real bad, and I'm totally full, but got half of it at least. I drink what you brought.
I'll say
It's true.
If Pixar's watching or listening to us right now, I just gave you a premise for a short. Let's do a story about the sandwich.
Yeah.
What happens to the sandwich? Where does
they're
it go?
They're doing a thing on the dudes that stole Cameron's car in Ferris Bueller. So if they can make a movie about those two guys, they can make a movie about the sandwich in this.
That's
Listen,
a weird
if
story.
Emoji Movie exists, we can have a movie about a sandwich.
What
For
she
sure.
Exactly. So it's funny, I don't know if we had this was after Hitchhiker. Was Elegy after Hitchhiker? I'm guessing if I remember right.
I believe
Anyways,
so, yeah.
so you know about the Nan Adams thing. Henry Corwin almost gets run over by Nan Adams because he's so drunk, and Nan Adams is actually trying to, I guess, found a good way to almost run him over, but kind of misses because of the kids. The kids always thinking about the kids, and two of them approach him, and one wants a gun, one wants jobs and money. I'm like, okay, these kids really want stuff that I was not expecting for what kids. Most kids want like toys, and these kids want guns and jobs and money, for their parents and stuff like that. So who knows what these kids are involved with, but this is the point where Rod Serling just comes out in the soaped snow, because the snow looks awfully realistic, as you can tell in this episode.
There's a ton of it too.
I know, it's like you can tell it's like soap or whatever they used back in the day for snow.
Mhm.
It's kind of obvious, but yeah, Rod Serling comes in and talks to us.
Oh, that's my cue.
He's
Sorry,
still
I was doing
remembering his
something.
days at Chuck E. Cheese.
He was so
No, I was-
enamored by Serling's appearance that
Oh,
you
yeah.
I
know
know.
I was doing
he
something-
couldn't hold it.
Honestly, guys, I was still in the sandwich thing. I was trying to do something, but it wasn't working.
See,
Jacob's just
It wasn't
kinda
working.
watching
I
the
had
episode
something
right now.
epic for the sandwich thing, but I couldn't get it to work right. Time for my contribution to the podcast.
Yay.
This is Mr. Henry Corwin, normally unemployed, who once a year takes the lead role in the uniquely popular American institution, that of the department store Santa Claus, in a road company version of The Night Before Christmas. But in just a moment, Mr. Henry Corwin, ersatz Santa Claus, will enter a strange kind of North Pole, which is one part the wondrous spirit of Christmas and one part the magic that can only be found in the Twilight Zone. Am I going to read these things in advance? I said that last week, I think.
Yeah, you said it last week. I said no. I actually vetoed
I didn't
that.
botch it. Yeah, I didn't botch it as much as I did last week's. But man, I can start reading these things in advance. I need to be prepared. Is the closing long? Yeah, I could probably do. I'm not going to read that.
That's what she said.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much says all you need to know about Henry Corwin. He's Santa Claus, or he will be kind of Santa Claus in the wondrous spirit of Christmas. And I forgot to mention this premiered 2 days before Christmas in 1960, December 23rd, 1960, or maybe I did say, I can't remember. But this first segment, like I said, as we've seen as of today, like with Bad Santa and Trading Places. What do you guys think about this setup? And I'll go to you, Alex, of course, first. Before we get into like the department store and the actual kind of opening, or the real kind of what's the purpose of this episode. Like, did this episode like keep you enthralled from that moment, or did you find that it was just kind of blah? I mean, what did you think overall to start it out as a kind of before Rod Serling kind of came on and started talking?
I mean, to me, I'd say that the Twilight Zone tends to have a lot of stories around underdogs or people who are in kind of like less than great circumstances. So I think at this point, especially with it being in season 2, I think it is something that audiences who've watched from the beginning would be able to expect and kind of see from this episode among kind of others even down the line. But yeah, I mean, I definitely remember being fascinated with where they take it from this point. So I think in that way I was enthralled, but I think it definitely picks up a lot more later on. And I know that in Grams's Twilight Zone companion book, there was a mention about how Serling was ultimately inspired by seeing some like Santa Claus parade float with, I guess the quote was more along the lines of kind of like, he said it must have been a last minute and at least third string replacement, like kind of like similar to that kind of Art Carney appearance that we're seeing in this episode, which I think in and of itself was a pretty interesting premise too, just because I think oftentimes you see a very conventional image of Santa Claus, at least as far as like how Christmas is being sold to us, you know? And I think,
Miracle on 34th Street.
Yep.
Yeah, which I think Miracle on 34th Street kind of added a more realistic aspect, which definitely plays upon how we kind of see this Santa Claus as well when it comes to how his public image and his perception amongst kind of just average people, trying to believe that there is a Santa Claus, but not in a way believing that the person in front of them is kind of the Santa Claus,
Right.
and I think having that be sort of the more supernatural take on it is something that, while not entirely unique, at least in comparison to The Miracle on 34th Street, which did come out and was pretty well known at the point of this episode airing, I almost think that familiarity, at least for an audience that would have, maybe grown up around that film, like relatively better than maybe we do, or at the very least for our generation, it would be like the later iteration of Miracle on 34th Street. Yeah, I think it definitely works.
It certainly catches you off guard, because most of the time when you hear someone is drunk as anyone, as anyone, there's still, that certain persona when it comes to like 60s TV. They really play up the kind of dirty, like, he doesn't look like Santa. The beard is really, nasty and dirty and
really
doesn't
skinny.
fit. Yeah, it's really skinny Santa. Obviously it's in black and white, so you can't really tell color, but you can tell that it's worn and just kind of just blah. He kind of embodies that low down feel that they're going for to kind of convey him. And the fact that a department store hired him, someone was on some pretty good drugs. That's all I'm going to say.
Like the
What
first
would you really
half.
think, Jacob?
Well, this
You
isn't
good,
like the first
bro?
half. I get.
No, yeah, I'm kind of just like introducing kind of like
Well,
what do you
in
guys
the
think about like
introducing-
the introducing?
I mean, it was, it's okay. It's fine. We didn't. I mean, I don't really have a lot to go on at this point. We just have like, okay, this drunk ass Santa Claus. There's less Santa Claus and more Krampus, and you're just like, okay. All I could think about was Bad Santa. I was watching it and I was like, this is the origin of Bad Santa. And then, he walks out and he's just kind of like a drunk Santa Claus, which that's become kind of a stereotype or archetype over the years of like these what do they call them? Department store Santa Clauses, like they're all drunks or something like that. So I don't know if it started here or not, or maybe it was just true. I don't know. But he was kind of dingy and gross, and I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. I wasn't like, oh, enthralled, but I was like, okay, I'm on board. Let's see where it goes from here. I will, just to go forward just slightly to piggyback off what Alex said. I do think that the first half, I know we're talking about the opening, but the first half of this episode is not I enjoyed the second half more. As far as like this episode goes. The first half was kind of, all right, this is kind of slow. Let's just go with that.
Well,
has some issues.
Right. Well, that's the thing that is interesting to me about this episode is dealing with a lot of like people who are struggling with things in their life, and you see it like in the missionary or mission house, the Delancey Street mission house, the missionary house, and dealing with a guy who is a Santa Claus, which is supposed to bring lots and lots of joy. That's the whole purpose of Santa Claus, not only to bring presents, but to bring joy and peace and happiness to the world, because he somehow makes it around the world with a bunch of, animals and reindeer and whatever. To do something like this, or even Miracle on 34th Street, to kind of show like a more, the people that are behind the mask, I guess you could say, is not always what's up?
Behind the beard,
right? Behind the that's good. Yeah, behind the beard are not always going to be the people that you expect. You always expect, like I said, a jolly individual, and here it's a guy who's drinking. He almost gets hit by a car. Nan Adams. He has some kids who are asking for jobs for their dad or family who are sick and stuff like that. There's they're asking for a toy gun. I joked about gun, but they're asking for a toy gun and stuff like that. And then Corwin, as he goes into the store, this is another thing about like class struggle, even especially in the 50s and 60s, the class struggle. He's not a very rich man. He's kind of a guy that kind of lives out of the mission house and stuff like that. And you have, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like the first person that comes up is not only is the the owner or the store manager or whatever, Dundee, and he just doesn't treat Corwin right. Corwin of course is drunk, so he has a little bit of problems, but the first group of individuals is this really rich mom and son, and the son is I don't know what the hell's going on there, but just the way they treat Corwin, the way they treat the situation at hand, it really, oh God, I thought you were gonna put that the big guy from Jingle All the Way in there or something like that. But I guess I have the question I have to ask you guys about this, and once again I'll go to Alex first, is like, what is your feeling on that take? Like, do you agree that it definitely is a dealing like classes when it comes to like people that are rich versus poor, in the situation that like this guy is obviously not doing very well for himself and how he's treated, and you, like I said, you have those the mother and the kid coming on and they're very, very rich and they don't treat him very well and stuff like that. What do you think about that in general as kind of like one of the themes?
I think it's certainly a fascinating approach. I think more so just because of the overall monologue that Art Connie presents through Corwin is pretty profound and genuine for what it is. I do feel that when it comes to a conversation of class, we see it a little bit, but not to the extent that I would have immediately taken the conversation in my own interpretation as being what would kind of come to a head at the department store, just because you're not really made fully aware of that kind of being the situation. You just are kind of made aware that there's this drunken Santa Claus who's like an hour late to work and is not fulfilling his like obligatory job duties as a Santa Claus in the moment. But I think that establishing that mother and son, who do come across as not the greatest, and I think even having Mr. Dundee be as aggressive as he is towards, like, while being understandable, at least with regard to how Corwin is within that kind of situation, is quite aggressive, especially with it being like Christmas Eve, as established like at the very beginning of the episode. So yeah, I think with it being said verbally, I think it makes sense, but I can totally see how if the episode started in the department store, there could have been a little more delivery of that kind of being the honed in message within that like first half of the episode, and then having the second half being that Corwin is helping a lot of less fortunate folks who are in a similar position that he once was before supernaturally becoming a Santa Claus in that way.
Yeah.
And like who he presents sort of this sudden gift to.
Yeah, it's and I'll go to you two as well, Jacob and Triv. Like, what do you think about this? Like, it has a heavy-handed message. I mean, compared to last week when it was just about people falling out of a window because of their stupidity. But I mean, for like, I joked last week about like the Christmas episodes are what do I call heavy-handed. Then I realized I watched this episode and it has a lot of heavy-handed messages in it about it's called the Meek Night of the Meek, about Meek inheriting the earth and stuff like that. What do you guys think about like how the messages are being portrayed, even from this early point of view? I mean, we haven't gotten to the middle of this episode, the act break, and there's a lot of stuff that Rod Serling's pulling out during Christmas. It's crazy.
I mean, I think if you look at a lot of holiday movies of that era, I mean, even I was thinking like It's a Wonderful Life, or we kind of mentioned Nightmare on 34th Street, but sorry, Miracle on 34th Street.
Nightmare on 34th Street. That's the asylum version. Review coming this weekend on Trivia Theater.
Oh my God, sorry. But yeah, there is that thing about not being greedy and not being rude that time of year, and the mother and son definitely play up into that. I mean, I kind of joked that it was like that she's very much like a Karen, kind of the way that she handled the whole situation. But given the time of year and everything, there is some of that understandable, not so much to the level that she takes it, but you're stressing over Christmas, your kid is like, whatever the hell is going on with her kid, but there's all that kind of thing. And then you have that kind of not underprivileged, but like the low guy on the totem pole trying to make a point about, hey, you know what? It's about more than just toys. It's about something deeper. And, that profound message that, I mean, like Alex said, it was done in a very good way. And for Art Carney being kind of I don't know, I always thought that he was more of a schlubby comedian, but he pulls out like some pretty decent acting chops during that part.
Yeah, I mean, that's to me, comedians are I think, me personally, they're some of the most talented individuals because what they have to convey on screen is very difficult. Comedy, as we all know, is a very difficult thing to do. And so when you see them go dramatic, it almost seems like a natural fit for them because it's just, you can tell that they have, the 1% they're putting on, like Jim Carrey, Truman Show or Man on the Moon, or even Will Ferrell, and some like Art Carney, who's in The Honeymooners, which is considered like one of the greatest comedic TV shows of all time, and he was very much a part of that. And here he's doing something more. There is some like the humorous stuff in here with like the cans and stuff like that, but in the what kind of, it's the alcohol, the brandy or cherry brandy or whatever it is, but it really feels like Art Carney was able to fit into this role pretty well. But I actually kind of cut you off, Jacob. But what do you think about like kind of where this episode is kind of aiming for?
What? I'm sorry, you cut out.
What?
No, I was gonna say it's like, hey, take your
say my name?
time. It's cool.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, I was like worried that
was
my
like,
mic wasn't on. I was like, what happened?
no, it cut out for a second, and I had
Oh.
something else. Well, I was trying to multitask, but for the show, sorry. I was trying to
Mhm.
remember the name of somebody I wanted to mention when I
He's
talked
trying to
about my.
reapply for Chuck E. Cheese.
No, they probably wouldn't take me back. But okay, so yeah, up to this point, what did I think about that? What did I think about the messaging and all that stuff? I think that was the question. It was asked quite a while ago.
Yes.
Before everything
And this
went
whole
chaos.
scene, this whole scene with him in the department store where he gets there, and yeah, there's some heavy-handedness and there's some we got some messages and all that, but that is not what I took in, what I was soaking in. I was soaking in this little kid by the name of Percival Smithers. As soon as he said that, any messages, I was like, that kid, he's the one. And he's like, what do you want? A new front name. A front name? Who the hell calls it that? I don't know. And like the Santa Claus like falls out of the thing. I don't know. Everybody else is like finding these. I feel kind of bad because you guys are finding like these deep messages and all this. And yeah, I see it's probably there. I was seeing the just outright comedy of this shit. Like,
No, but you're
Smithers. And he's falling in the ground. He's like, this guy's sloshed. I was like,
yeah.
yeah.
The son who was truly traumatized, according to his mother.
Yeah. And he didn't seem it. He
Truly.
just seemed like a little brat. So, I mean, it just seemed like standard fare for this kind of thing. Got drunk Santa Claus, bad Santa over here. Kid comes up there. It's not like we didn't know it was going to happen. We knew he was going to make an ass of himself and have some little bratty ass kid come up there and say, I want a Red Ryder BB gun. And he's going to make a mess of it all. Yeah. Ho, 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 and that's what happened. Yeah, he's got some he's making some, you got the kids right before that. That was out of nowhere, I thought. He's like out on the street and we're rewinding because I'm all over the place. That's how I am. Live with it. He's out on the street and he stops and his kids come up and it's like they just start laying like hard life issues on this guy, making him cry and everything. And one of them, I swear, said, he's like, what do you want? He's like, I want a gun. I was like, what? I swear one of them kids said, I want a gun for Christmas. It's like, a gun? Damn, this kid's going to like resort to, it's like, it's the only way out. It's the only future I have is like a gun and go rob a convenience store or something. Maybe that's just where
Should
my
we
mind
mention that Nick mentioned the gun thing like 10 minutes ago?
Oh, did you mention the gun? I'm sorry. I was listening.
I knew
to
you didn't
something.
listen to me.
I usually listen. I usually listen to everything, but I really could not. I was like, what was that kid's name? I remember this is what happens when I take notes, people. This is the first episode I've not taken notes because I would have definitely had Percival Smithers down there. And I didn't hear it. And I was like, okay, he's talking about that. What was that kid's name? I gotta see. So I got to like queued up here and I'm like watching it. And he mentioned the gun. Yeah. So there's that. Nick could edit this out. He could make all this
He
right.
won't though.
No,
That motherfucker won't.
But no, the reason I brought that up is because, like I said, this is why I brought up the whole idea of like the rich versus poor and all that good stuff. Is the kids on the street, they want a job for their dad. The kid in the store wants superfluous things and toys and stuff like that. And they want toys and stuff like that, but they ask for money and jobs and a toy gun or whatever, that type of thing.
I heard that part. Did he ask? Did he say a toy gun? I swear he just said a gun.
Yeah, he said a toy gun. Yeah, he definitely.
Oh, I didn't hear the toy part.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just hoping. I don't know, but he was. I swear he just said, "I want a gun." And I was like, "Damn!" He either wants to knock over a liquor store, or he's just like, My life is so bad. What do you want? A gun. Put
It's
me out of my misery. Damn.
It's the kid from the kid becomes the adult who turns into the guy who gets killed and ends up in like the casino in that episode where he's like stuck in his own hell.
The fever?
Oh yeah.
Oh
The
yeah.
Shadow Play?
The,
one
I know what you're talking about.
It's
the
the one
where
where
he
they,
goes to hell,
Yeah. He's
No,
got his
it's the
own
one where-
demon.
but he thinks he's in heaven.
He gets really
Yeah.
bored.
Oh no. Oh yeah, that's a different episode.
It's all
I don't remember what
gangstery.
it's called on top of my head.
He was
Yeah. It talks
born
like this
under
the
a
whole time.
bad
See?
zodiac.
Yeah. See. What are you doing here? What's your game? What are you pushing? Different episodes.
But no, he of course falls down drunk and gets fired by the manager, as you would, if you do something like that. And this
because
is when he
Percival points out that, look, Ma, this Santa Claus loaded.
I would also like to mention the toys that they have on display in this toy department are some of the creepiest things I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's a different time, Triv.
Yeah.
have you not seen A Christmas Story? There's
I
weird
have.
shit in that
The
department
hot
store window.
toy item of the year in 1962 is a fucking can and a stick.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
know.
the life. The struggle was real back then. They had cans and sticks. That's it. Then the
And
hula
cherry
hoop came out and
brandy.
just revolutionized the world.
That is
Nobody
true.
could
That
afford that
train set
shit.
was pretty cool.
The
Only,
train set
like,
was
rich
actually
kids,
from
like that movie.
the
The toy had that.
Munsters.
We bring the
Oh,
monsters
yeah,
into
that's-
this.
Oh
think
yeah.
that's
No,
what it
I
said.
remember reading in the companions that apparently they didn't have like the toys and Christmas decor like CVS's prop department, so they had to like bring it out from like the outside basically.
Oh no, sorry, the Addams Family, not the Munsters, but same basic idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Munsters was basically the GoBots to the Addams Family's Transformers, so whatever.
Anyways, this is where Corwin gives like his impassioned speech about Night of the Meek and how it's easier to just drink and live in a in a world where things are coming against you. Like you have the man with the globe on his shoulders he's trying to carry around and stuff like that. And
Atlas.
Yeah, Atlas. Thank
Yeah.
you.
He shrugged.
And
He shrugged so.
But he wishes to see like Meek inherit the earth, and that's why he drinks. And Cohen walks through the street sad and
Makes sense.
alone, and he reaches into his pocket looking for money because he wants to go back to the bar. And as funny as that scene kind of made me laugh a little bit, even though I was like half asleep when I was watching this episode, it's still kind of depressing to think about because this guy is like, he's trying to he's a guy that cares, as Alex has said and you guys have said, and he just seems like everybody's against him, but he never faults them for that. He just a guy that just is drunk, wants to get drunker, and they kind of kick him out of the bar for everything he did earlier. And the bartender calls him a lush, which I thought was kind of funny. And
Loaded lush.
yeah, he's a loaded lush. I think it's a lexicon work.
Yeah, lush.
But this is when the quote unquote Twilight Zone starts happening, where basically he starts hearing sleigh bells and of course a composition of Noel playing, and he walks into the alleyway, and like I said, he's kind of falling to the ground. And this is where we get, like I said, the sleigh bells get more prominent, and of course the Noel songs plays, but of course a cat, because you got to have a cat with a bag, cat kind of falling, off the bag. And of course, a bunch of cans fall out of the bag. And I didn't, like you guys said, I didn't know what exactly was going to happen. He turns back around when he hears the sleigh bells. And this is right before the act end, but he turns around, he sees a bag full of gifts. And you would think, oh, maybe like he would like take the gifts and like, run off. But that's not the purpose of the story. He actually takes the gifts, and he has a much bigger purpose. He tells everyone Merry Christmas, and that's the end of the act. So the good stuff like is here, like the concepts and ideas, but it's not till like the second act where we really get like kind of the gist about how good of a person Corwin is. But Alex, for the first act, like even though it doesn't get into like the real good act, like the real good stuff, like with him, what do you think overall of that first act? I know we talked a little bit, but what do you think overall with everything that happens?
I thought it was good. But I think as Jacob said, I think it does pick up a lot more in the second half when he gets the bag and everything. But I think for being a setup in the Twilight Zone, I think it's pretty solid. I mean, even for it being as slightly heavy-handed in how it's communicating things, I thought it was pretty good.
Like, what do you guys think about like everything that we've talked about so far? Triv, Jacob, like the ideas and concepts about what's being presented, like the whole idea he finds a bag, which has gifts in it and what he's planning on to do with it. Like, even though you didn't know what was going to happen before, like, what did you guys think of the first act?
It wasn't bad by any stretch, but felt like it took a long time to get through the first act, and I'm not sure where it sat for like timing, like if it was a longer first half and a shorter second half, or where it's at, but it felt long to me. And I know that there was actually quite a lot that happened, so I don't know. I'm kind of torn because they do bring up good points. There's a lot of stuff that they're doing a lot of front loading of stuff that you're going to see later. It was a solid base, and it definitely reflected kind of the holiday season. So I can't fault it too much.
Yeah, the first episode, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of like, it wasn't great though. I ain't gonna lie. The first half, I was just kind of like, this seems really drawn out. And there was a distinct, and maybe I'm remembering wrong, a distinct lack of music. There was background music, not like background film music. There's like music going on in the scene, like Christmas, like jingles and stuff like that. But I don't recall there being any like music to the episode, at least up to this point.
No, this is a Noel song. That's about it.
Yeah, like and that seemed, it made things seem kind of empty, and it just seemed kind of.
That might have been on purpose too.
Maybe, but it seemed held together with tape. I don't know why. It just seemed kind of almost sloppy, like on the edge of sloppy up to that point. Like it was missing something. It wasn't terrible. I was just kind of like, it's not great either. It's fine, but nothing's really happening. We got Drunk Santa and Percival Smithers, and that's about it. And I mean, I was just waiting. I felt like I was waiting for it. I was waiting in the fucking sandwich. I was waiting for it to happen.
Exactly.
We'll never forget you, sandwich. I was just waiting for something to happen, and it does, but it hadn't happened up to that halfway point. The halfway point is a fair amount in there from what I remember. It's what, like a little bit more than half, like it's a little bit more than halfway through the episode, isn't it? Or it's probably right at the halfway mark, and I'm just talking out my ass.
I felt the same 60%. I think 60% of the episode is when he has the bag and everything, but definitely the parts, but definitely that like half before that is like a 40%. At least that's how I saw it. But
it just seemed long. It seemed like it's okay. You're taking a while to get here, so let's go ahead and get to it. We get it. He's a drunk Santa. We did get
Percival Smithers.
Percy and his front name. Yeah, that's what I was at. I don't know if I really answered the question, but I said a lot of words, and I talked about
front butt.
Front butt. I was gonna say front butt, but I didn't know if anybody would get it.
It's ironic because the Christmas episode for season 3 is 5 characters in search of an exit, and that's a much better story.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna mention that episode because that's also a very good episode.
Oh yeah.
Without spoiling it, just
trash
happens
can
to be
episode
for the holidays. So
that's what you remember, the trash can?
It's not a trash can.
It's an interdimensional portal.
It's a bin.
I mean,
it's a cylinder bin.
Yes.
With no lid.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a room with no walls, or it's like what, no windows and no walls or something like that. It's all circular.
Sure.
Cool.
Anyway, so yeah, my take is, I was like you guys, I was slightly bored by this episode, to be fairly honest. I was like, what is the purpose of this episode? And that's just because, Rod Serling is one of those writers that when he really is on point, he can make an episode just like completely riveting from beginning to end. And once again, I don't know what was going on at the time, but these episodes seem like they're a little less in written quality, just in the simple fact that it was Christmas time, and maybe he just wanted to do a simple story about a guy who's down on his luck that finds a Christmas bag of toys and stuff and gifts, and he finds a way to lift people's spirits. When we go back to the next act after the commercial break, he walks into the Delancey Street Mission House, which is of course where the the winos and drunks and basically the homeless people go, and they're singing songs with this really like angry sister nun. I guess she's a nun.
She's got a sick up her ass.
Yeah, she's not very nice.
Sister Florence, that bitch.
And just to answer your question, Nick, at least to some extent, the Buck Houghton recalled making this episode like he was talking about it, and he said once in a while, Rod would have an enthusiasm. He would say to himself or Carol or me or whomever that he particularly liked someone. There was a Christmas show we did that just because he wanted to see Art Carney play Santa. So part of the reason that this episode came to be was because he wanted to see Art Carney play Santa.
He also named Norman Corwin as like a radio giant that was like one of his idols as well, which I think is partially why he even named him after Art Carney's character, which is, I mean, and he worked with Art Carney before on Playhouse 90 for an episode, along with the director for this episode as well. They just happened, I guess that just happened to be like happenstance, but like, you know, it seems like it seemed like an episode that he very much was involved in because he still very much was involved with the Twilight Zone still at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, he seemed to have liked it and enjoyed it, which is nice to hear.
And that's one thing about
episodes he's worked on that he was just like, well, shit, this is exhausting, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Well,
I think too with this one, there is that it is not that Christmas stories need to be simple, but I think that there is that, okay, we just want a simple story of good versus evil. You know, here's a story of a guy that gets something that a lot of you know, the good kinds of Santa, you know, they want to give back, and he kind of gets that wish. You know, there's the what if I could do this thing with a giant bag of toys.
Yeah, and the reason I bring up the whole like lightness of the episodes and the way they're written is like you look at last week's episode that we talked about, and then you look at this episode. There, like we had episodes of like Eye of the Beholder, The Howling Man, Man in the Bottle. Of course, talking about the Invaders in a couple of weeks. Penny for Your Thoughts, 22, The Odyssey of Flight 33. These are episodes that have much darker and deeper and more thought-provoking ideas than I think Night of the Meek and especially Most Unusual Camera have. So that's the reason I said what I said was it feels like that even though Rod Serling loved writing this episode, it just felt like he was more inclined to write something that was a little less deep, hardcore. Yeah, we'll go with that. Because you know the Invaders is definitely a very deep episode in a lot of ways. I don't know, but you know it's interesting when you think about it. But he goes Art Carney's character Henry Corwin goes to the shelter, and of course Sister Florence is very unhappy about this because it like interrupts her like music session that they're doing. And I think the thing I love about this segment is the fact that they're playing songs. Usually you would just have a TV on or something like that, or just have, you know, people sleeping in beds, but here they're like, you know, Christmas time singing songs, you know, having merry old time. And I think that's what makes the episode kind of special a little bit, is the fact that, you know, Art Carney doesn't he goes to the kids later on, but he goes to the people that he's helping the most, is what makes kind of the Christmas, I mean, depending on like if you celebrate Christmas, but that makes like the holiday kind of special, is what he's doing and what he's representing when he starts giving people like, you know, their items and what they like and stuff like that. And, you know, it's kind of funny when the police come in, but you know, because of the Sister Florence and all that stuff. But that's what kind of like what I was talking about earlier, just the whole idea of just like he's willing to help people. That's kind of a nice concept for, you know, something of the holidays, I guess you could say. So I don't know what you guys think of that kind of stuff, but
one other kind of fun trivia point was across her bonnet it says save our soul or something to that extent, like the SOS thing, and that's actually from that's the order used in Guys and Dolls.
Oh, nice.
Which was kind of funny.
But yeah, like I said, you know, what's really kind of cool is the idea of like, you know, even though he is basically looked down upon, even Sister Florence and stuff like that, you know, gets on him and like calls the cops. And it's kind of funny that like the cop comes in, he doesn't like put handcuffs on Corwin, he's just like, hey, come with me if you want to live, you know, that type of thing.
Before we get there, can we ask why this stick up her ass stuck up bitch has an issue with this guy coming in and giving people Christmas gifts on Christmas? Why is she so upset that he's coming in spreading Christmas joy?
He interrupted the service.
Yeah,
to give them to spread joy and love and all that. And no, she can't have that. You're stealing my thunder, man.
Like she was just vibing, playing the piano and singing, and then he just barged in after some guy introduced him. You know, like
I guess
she upstaged
him. I give her some
credit.
credit.
Yeah, he upstaged her. Yeah.
Jacob,
I
have
think
you
that's
never
why.
seen Sister Act? When you
Oh,
you have
yeah.
people that are trying to have a peaceful
Saw-
combat, and you bring Whoopi Goldberg into the mix. It's going to cause chaos. You need order,
I saw it in
not
theaters on a
presence.
date.
Of course you did. Of course you fucking did.
Yeah, I did.
What movie have you not seen that has come out since you've been born? Like,
There's been movies I haven't seen, but you guys just happen to bring up movies I saw. I went to theaters a lot. And I used that was my go-to. I always went to theaters, and I went on a number of dates. Back in my
We're
so
so
even a
salmon
homebody,
Back in
but
my
also
day.
a theater goer. Okay.
I mean, back in the day when I was working at theater too, I think I saw everything in the theater too. But I don't know if I had dates at the theater. But
I didn't work there. I just went there. But did you
You
see?
did
But I
work
mean, did we see Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit? Saw that one too.
Would you rather have figs or dates at the theater?
Figs or
Trip
trying to think
with
if
the
there's a way I
jokes.
can spin figs. We'll move on.
Anyway,
I'm not
so
a
what were
shark
the
tonight.
story beats of this episode, Nick?
Yes.
Do you want to kindly tell us about
Well, apparently the
it?
story beats are who Jacob go with on dates to the theater.
And figs.
That I have in my young life.
I think it's a whole other
Exactly.
podcast for that, though.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That's his
No,
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
So Corwin is arrested, for being a good person. Apparently, that's apparently what happens in Twilight Zone. You don't get arrested for bad things; you get arrested for good things. And I think this is great. This is probably where I think the best part of the episode is at, because Corwin's in there. He's trying to explain like what this bag is to the police officer, and Dundee pops up and starts accusing him of stealing goods from the store. And what's awesome is like when they decided to confront him and check the bag, there's a cat and empty cans in the bag, which is awesome because it's kind of like a cool little twist where the thing, it's like having that magic bag that only Corwin can pull things out of, and everybody else just gets cans. It's like all I kept thinking was
Trash.
he hates these cans, that type of thing. But I mean, on top of everything, he's eventually let go because there's nothing they can prove. They can't prove that he stole gun, all this stuff, because there's cans and a cat in this bag, But then he gives Dundee a bottle of 1903 vintage cherry brandy, which is very 60s, to be fairly honest. Brandy seems very 60s to me. But like, what do you guys think about that? It's just like it's a cool little kind of nice twist for something that is very heady when it comes to like the idea of like this poor guy that's been kind of thrown in a bad whatever. But what do you guys think about it?
I mean, he's just that much more capable of pulling beer out of a bag, I guess. I mean, but like, I think it just more stresses the idea of how it almost was destined for Corwin, of all people, to be able to have that kind of capability to help other people versus someone else touching it. I think it adds on to it being a sort of, as it's said in the episode quote, like supernatural, of how almost he's kind of the only one who possesses this kind of power versus somebody else, which I think works pretty well because it's even established when he gets the bag in the first place that he steps by the bag and there's like cans in it and there's like a cat nearby.
Right.
And then suddenly turns around and there are gifts in it, and then he just kind of takes it and accepts that that's the role that he initially wished for is happening right in front of him. But yeah, I think it's overall seen as a good thing.
Yeah, because the thing, like the kind of lead off on that is, I promise I'll get to you, Triv and Jacob. I'm not ignoring you. I promise. Maybe I am. No,
totally not.
No, but the thing was like he gives all these gifts to everyone, to people, the kids get the toy plane and whatever else they give, and then he's out of gifts finally, and he doesn't seem like upset by that. He's actually happy about that, and it leads into like what makes him special as a human being and kind of the magic of what you were saying, Alex. And I also want to get you guys' opinion too, Triv and Jacob. Like, what do you guys think about that as well? Like, just the cherry brandy. It's a funny joke. You give the store manager a bottle of brandy, but like he obviously likes it at the end of the episode very, very much. Him and the police officer, but that whole idea that like it's a selfless act. He's like doing all this stuff for everyone else, and then he has nothing. He doesn't seem upset by that. Like the guy asked him about it. Aren't you upset you didn't get a gift for yourself? And
because he doesn't have nothing. He has the greatest gift of all.
Exactly.
Sister
That
Flunks.
is kind of as corny as that is what it's all about. And that's what that is one of the things that saves this episode too. Is that it shows this genuinely just like really good guy who I don't think we've ever met anybody that good. I need more good people like this in my life. What he wants to do is give and spread love. He wants to be real life Santa Claus. He wants to give everybody what they want, and he has a total disregard for what he wants, because what he wants is to make other people happy. And there's just something about that that's like, even though some of it's kind of corny and kind of janky here or there, that's a really good fucking message, man. and I can get down with that. I can
But
get down with
wouldn't
like
you
it's just a
say-
really good message that seemed genuine. And maybe it was Carney's performance or just the way they set it up, because the episode has issues and it's got lulls and all that. Man, that's just an awesome message right there.
Mhm.
It's just like he's a genuinely good guy who just what he wants to give. And he's cool with that. And he was cool with just walking off back to the alley and just, living the way he's been living because he got what he wanted. I mean, we'll get to what happens after that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty neat.
But I'm just gonna add
Pretty
though,
meek.
he did get what he, like you said, he did get what he wanted though by being able to give to others. Like he said, just for one night, he wanted to be able to be Santa. And
Mhm.
as he, him doing that gave him the ability to give it to everybody else.
Yeah, and I think also his optimism, it's not realistic, I know, but like when he's getting arrested, he's getting taken to jail and he's like, "Hey, come on, after you." And he's walking because he's just like, "Man, I'm high on life. I got everything I need right here in this bag and everything's going to work out because I just what can I get for you? What can I do for you? I'm feeling great." He didn't care he's being arrested. It's whatever. He wasn't mad at the sister, even though she was acting crazy. He was just like, "It's all good, baby. What do you need? You need a ass stick remover is what you need." But
What does that
what
say
can I
about
get
you
ya?
though? Because you're supposed to have a stick up your ass as well.
I am? Do I?
Yeah, that's what you said.
No. Oh, not at the moment. It's in the shop.
Okay, that's all right.
It's getting
Alex, you were getting ready to say
elongated.
something?
I
Oh,
was
did I
gonna
cut
say,
you
like,
off? I'm sorry.
arguably. Oh, yeah, you did. You should feel fucking horrible. No, just
I
kidding.
do.
No, I was gonna say, arguably, in the beginning of the episode, he is selfish in the sense that he gets drunk for his own, like, just for his own means of escape from reality, and acts the way he does because he himself is living in not the greatest circumstances and wants to depart from that, even if it means being a public embarrassment or maybe not being that kind of public image of Santa Claus that he's supposed to be in this case. Which obviously there's more to that in regards to like how just human beings cope and react to things. But I think if there was an argument towards him being selfish to being selfless in like the second half, I think that is something that you could kind of attach there as well. Aside from him just kind of being like a broken but still all around pretty good guy who has good intentions, but then when like before he gets the bag just didn't have that kind of like capability to do so.
And you see that, like you said, with the whole he's very selfish with the drunkenness and stuff like that, and the way he acts. And there's a little bit of like selfishness about him when he shows up at like because there's a lot of kids I'm sure that are in line that aren't that Percival or whatever the hell his name was, the jerk ass kid.
Percival
that,
Smithers.
yeah, and like like those little kids that want a job for their daddy and stuff like that. It just he becomes a little selfless just for that simple fact that when he talks about being the night of the meek and stuff like that. It's just sometimes you just got to be nice to one another, and that's what the holidays are always meant to be, is being nice to each other. Giving presents is nice, but the real reason behind it is celebrating with family and realizing that some people struggle, and you have to sometimes understand that. But to kind of close out the episode, he basically walks down the alley that he was in earlier, and he hears the Noel song play again on a xylophone, or I think it's a xylophone or something like that, and he notices a sleigh and some reindeer. And I really like it's a young kid, but it's like it looks really strange when like the young elf kind of pops out, and just the way it's presented, stuff like that. It's just kind of very Twilight Zone-y and stuff like that. And I don't remember Yeah, exactly. It's very like Marley Martin. Is it Marley Martin? The one from Peter Pan?
Tinkerbell?
No. You remember back in the day, it was like some
I don't
something
remember anything from back in the day.
Except for all the stories.
don't?
Unless I happened to the theater that I was on a date on.
No, there was a very famous like live version of Peter Pan that
Yeah, there have been known like female performers as Peter Pan before. At least from a
Mary
I think
theatrical
Poppins.
most Peter
Yeah.
Pans in live performance, I think they have been female, haven't they?
I think so.
Mm,
That once again, may pull that up.
Yeah.
Maybe pulling that
either
straight out
that
my
or
ass.
like maybe
Never
50-50.
read it.
But basically he's offered the chance to essentially become the real Santa for what he, basically his selfless acts and stuff like that. And I don't remember exactly what the face he's giving because I watched this like the night before with you guys. I put the look on Cohen's face is so strange and like a psycho. So he apparently did a face in the episode that I don't remember, which is kind of funny now I think about it. I'm sure I had to go back and watch it, but probably one of the best parts. I think some of the best parts of the episode are like the reaction with the Mr. Dundee and the police officer, because they're all sloshed and they're lush and they're very, very drunk and tipsy, and they look in the sky as Cohen's flying in the sky and stuff like that, with the jingle bells, and he's now Santa, and they're like, oh, you know what, that's fine, whatever, we're drunk, let's go get some hot coffee and pour some brandy in it and thank God for miracles. And they walk off like in what was that,
Casablanca. Yeah.
Casablanca.
Speaking of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah.
Let's go get drunk.
Of holding hands
Let's get pissed.
and sleeping in separate beds.
Yes.
Separate
Because that's what
twin
everybody did.
Sized beds.
Yeah. Bob Sterling's very progressive,
Yeah.
so you never know what he was insinuating. So
Never know.
Let's push
Exactly.
the twin beds together tonight, honey.
cherry brandy, that's a powerful drink or something.
Plus, we
but
could
yeah,
watch a toilet flush later.
I know, right? So we
That's
watch.
just psycho, man. That's psycho.
I know.
Man. But that's the end of the episode. Like I said, the second act, as we talked about, you guys have all mentioned, is a much more impactful way to make the episode much, much better. It feels more like it has a purpose and kind of a follow through on the actual ideas of what Rod Serling is trying to present. But Alex, as you enjoy going first, I'll let you go first. What do you think of not only of the second act, but the overall episode?
I think it's a good, heartwarming episode, but also kind of bittersweet at the same time, kind of knowing what the resolution is. I think as kind of what the sentiment was overall, that was said earlier, I think it's really nice to have episodes that are kind of a little more like the lighthearted feel-good side, and then kind of having more of the ones that are a little heavier and kind of a little somber. I think having the mix of those episodes is pretty great, especially when it's an episode like this. I know that Serling has said in Twilight Zone Companions that like he was disappointed about this episode in particular being filmed in videotape, and I do think that this episode may get overshadowed, at least with regard to kind of the larger series, because of it being a videotape, which is really a shame, because I think it is fairly I think the videotape episodes have takeaways from it, like just from an average viewer standpoint. But yeah, I do feel that Night of the Mink definitely deserves a lot more recognition, especially over the holidays. I think that, as much as we kind of think of more of the Twilight Zone, maybe in companion with like Halloween, just because of it being kind of more like sci-fi and kind of having these elements that you would maybe see in like horror and thrillers nowadays, at least with regard to like Jordan Peele, for example, being heavily influenced by the Twilight Zone. I think that Night of the Mink is a really nice all-around episode for kind of you to watch like on your own, or kind of along with binge watching a lot of the episodes. Yeah,
100% agree. This episode, I think, would rank higher for me if it were film, not videotape. I think the videotape just it's the 60s. Like there's, they made a decision to do it, and it definitely affects like my overall feel of the movie, of the episode. But what about you two? What do you think overall of the second act and the full episode?
Second act was obviously quite a bit more it felt more put together than the first half. I don't know, like the cop thing, I know that it played in there, but like when they go into the cop shop and the store manager is like, oh well, clearly he stole a lot of high-end merch. It's like, how about some receipts, bitch? Come on, you played Piglet, don't be a dick, and that didn't really happen. So yeah, everything, it was cute. It was, everything ended in a mostly happy way. It had a lot of good to it. And being that he got what he needed at the end of it, and then you see the cop and the department store manager go off into the sunset was well worth it. So
I like the second half better than the first half. It had more going on. It was the Twilight Zone-y part of it all. I liked the whole sentiment of it all and the feel good. It does have just like really feel good message. Messages can Christmas messages can be real hit or miss. They can be laid on too thick and too sappy. I felt like they did this one just right. It was laid on thick at times, but it was okay. Once you got into the crux of it, where he's like giving out the gifts and what that really meant to him, I thought that was a really good feeling episode. You just feel good. I mean, even though before he ends up being Santa Claus, I felt good then. Sure, he's right back where he started, as physically, and he's walking off to an alley, but you feel like, man, this guy's got, it may not be everything I want because I don't want to sleep in an alley, but he got everything he wanted right then. He's like, he just hit true happiness, and his happiness was derived from other people's happiness, spreading joy and stuff like that. That's really awesome. I mean, I know I talk a lot of stuff, but I love giving gifts to people and stuff like that. It always makes me feel good. And I'm not really looking to get gifts. And if I want something, I'll get it. But I can relate with that. Not that I'm like, oh, I'm not saying I'm like this guy, but I get that feeling when you give someone a gift for Christmas and you're able to give people things that they want. It just makes you feel really good. And I think that's awesome that they portrayed this person who all he wanted. There was no ulterior motive. There was nothing like that. Yeah, he got the payoff in the end, but he wasn't looking for that. He just wanted to be, he was a good stand-up guy. And you even go back to the beginning and they position him as like this drunk. And we have this vision of what a drunk is and why they drink, and that they're just kind of, subpar. But I kind of get the feeling by the end that, well, the reason he drinks is because he's this really good-hearted person who just wants to make everybody happy and give, out in the world. And he just lives in this world where that's just not a thing, that like he can't do that. And he's miserable because of that, because he just can't ever, he can't do that thing. He can't give enough joy in the world, but then he finds a way to do it. And, he doesn't he doesn't really talk about drinking after that. Once he gets that bag, he doesn't feel the need to go drinking anymore. I think, overall good message. I liked it. Made me feel good. I like feel good message movies when they're not too heavy handed. First half of the show could have been better. It was kind of sloppy, kind of all over the place. It did have Percival Smithers, which he'll always be memorable, but it was a little shaky there in the beginning, admittedly. But once it got into it, it was nothing groundbreaking, but it was just a really like a feel good holiday episode. I'm not going to sit here and say it's top 10, but it was not as bad. I know leading up to this, we had talked about, I had the revelation that, oh, apparently this is frowned upon, this episode. I thought it was going to be worse than it was once I saw it, or when I saw it. And to piggyback once again off of what Nick said a minute ago about the video, I do disagree with that. The video here, there were parts that I was like, oh yeah, this is in video. It did not stand out nearly as much as the previous episode we watched that was in video, so it didn't bother me. Nowhere near. And I know we had a discussion about that with that episode as well, the one about the robots, that
the lateness of the hour.
Yeah, it kind of took away from it. And I admitted that, yeah, it was very jarring, especially in the beginning, but it didn't bother me too much. This one really wasn't. There were actually times I was like, is it not? I think I can't, so I thought, and I know some of the other episodes don't look good that are shot in video, but when they shot this person knew how to, their DP or something knew how to shoot video, and they knew how to light it, and I couldn't really tell. Yeah. For the most part. It didn't stand out nearly as much, so it didn't bother me that much. But yeah, I ended up liking this episode more than I thought I would. Especially Nick and I had talked earlier today before I finished it. I was pretty much at the halfway mark when he had just walked into the church or the place with the sister Florence. He literally just walked in there. That's where I had paused it last night, and it was prior to finishing it. He and I were talking, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not really, not feeling it as of yet." So I was thinking I was going to dislike it more. Once I got to that second part, I was like, "Pretty cool." I just like the feeling. The message kind of it sold me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Also, there is a lexicon word in here: moth-eaten Robin Hood.
Moth-eaten Robin Hood.
Yeah. So like sister, what's her face?
Florence
calls him a moth-eaten Robin Hood.
Ah, I'll take it. There was another one too, a lush, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Our
I think a lush is pretty common.
Yeah.
But...
Well, I thought it was a something lush.
It's something lush. Ooh, getting pretty.
Something lush.
Yeah, there you go. Something.
Well,
lush.
actually, here's something interesting.
Moth-eaten
we've
lush?
been talking Miracle on 34th Street throughout this episode. So, Trev, you had mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, or at some point in recording. Let's see, 1973 TV version of Miracle on 34th Street. Of course, Sebastian Cabot, who plays the devil in that episode we were actually talking about tonight, is in this episode. Roddy McDowall is in this movie, and a guy that was in this episode, Burt Mustin, who was in this episode, is in that movie. So we have 3 Twilight Zone people who are in the 1974 TV movie of The Miracle on 34th Street.
Nice.
So
well, and the guy, Art Carney, and the guy that played the department store head went on to do the Odd Couple on Broadway.
Yeah. With that said, I think overall, this episode, I think, we all enjoyed it for the most part. Had some issues with it, of course, but I think this is an episode that maybe gets a lot more flack than it should get. I think it's misunderstood sometimes for what it tries to do. And like I said, it's not the most impactful Twilight Zone we'll ever watch, but it definitely has an interesting message to say. So with that said, Jacob, I'm now forcing you to do the closing narration again.
Yes.
Do it.
A word to the wise, to all the children of the 20th century, whether their concern be pediatrics or geriatrics, whether they crawl on hands and knees or wear diapers or walk with a cane and comb their beards. There's a wondrous magic to Christmas, and there's a special power reserved for little people. In short, there's nothing mightier than the meek, and a Merry Christmas to each and all. I would like to mention also a bit of trivia that piggybacks off of this. I'm using piggyback a lot tonight, but either way, they apparently
That's
took
what he
the
said.
and yeah, he did. They apparently took the and a Merry Christmas to each and all off of this closing narration in later broadcasts, and it did not return until a syndication on the Me TV network on Christmas Day 2019. So between at some point in the 80s up until 2019, it just ended with, and there's nothing mightier than the meek. Why they took the Merry Christmas off for a Christmas episode, who knows? But they did. But I included it.
Yay!
I
Yeah,
mean,
if they're
it
gonna
is in it
say
now.
Yeah, if they're gonna say, oh, because it says Merry Christmas, what is a Christmas episode? I mean, I don't know. So yeah, that is Night of the Meek. Pretty decent episode. We'll put it in that respect. So before we get into the actual Twilight ranking list, did you guys have anything you want to close out with before we officially close out the episode? Anything else you want to talk about real quick? Just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything.
There
'cause I
was
tend to
this
forget
kid that
stuff.
asked for a gun. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Jacob, I'm sorry to tell you, but like
3 hours
Nick
ago.
mentioned that like
Yeah,
45
exactly.
minutes ago.
Damn, did Dick say that? Oh,
Yeah.
So with
Short-term
that
memory.
He
said,
says a lot of things.
Yes.
I do.
he says words.
Jacob will like text me tomorrow.
sentences.
You remember that toy gun?
There was this gun. We didn't talk about it.
Remember that asshole kid named Percival?
Yeah. He
Percival
deserved a
Smithers.
gun.
Yeah. But instead he wanted a new front butt. Front name.
So with that said, let's go ahead and head into the Twilight Zone ranking list. The greatest list ever known by man. No one else will come up with a list any better because I said so.
Probably not.
So when we're all said and done with this, are we going to do a rankings list video? You know I love rankings lists.
I mean,
Can we please?
Yeah, I'll just for you, Jacob, we will.
There's probably some people we could contract to do it with us.
Yeah, Alex.
I heard contract and I was like, what?
But Alex, as our guest, you see our list. You see, I'm sure some things you would put higher, some things you would put lower. Where would you put this on? Like, where would you put this?
I would say, in comparison to the other episodes, because there are a lot of episodes to compare it now compared to Elegy. I would place it maybe around like the 30s on the list. It definitely would be a low Elegy for sure, but not that much lower. I was thinking maybe like 31, just because I really like The Last Flight personally. I think that for a time travel episode it works, and I think that one also has a bit of a bittersweet ending to it that I think works just a little. I think the overall execution of that episode to me is just a little better with regard to kind of the premise it's going for. And I also don't I liked And When the Sky Was Open, but I definitely felt like overall execution of it could have been, I think, just a smidge better and like explaining what it was doing, because I do remember it taking me a little bit to understand where it was going with the.
Is that what the guys who kept disappearing?
Yeah.
Yep, and they go to the bar. Yeah.
20-cent beer.
Yeah, but yeah, I would probably place around like 31 for me personally. Yeah. Also, you guys really did not like The Trouble with Templeton. That's shocking. Like, when I was watching the series, like I compared it to A World of Difference, and I liked A World of Difference a little more with The Trouble with Templeton, and I feel like they both had similar premises, just with different like entertainment mediums involved in them. But shit, you didn't like it more than The Fever?
Yeah, it was a very contentious episode. Like I didn't expect it to go below The Fever. I'm like, I didn't expect like us to hate it that much, but
what did it end is it made no damn sense. And The Fever,
I was drunk.
While we thought The Fever execution wise, we thought it was great, and we thought it was better than The Fever, but The Fever at least had a coherent story. It was not executed very well, but it was a coherent story. That one, there was just why did this happen? No threads given to kind of like give us any type of somewhat of an explanation. Nothing. Just this happens, and it may have been a script. It may not have been. It was too vague. I remember that being one of our points.
Yeah, I can see that being a fair point. I don't know. I mean, I watched all the episodes back to back, so my memory isn't the like keenness, I would say, towards like how I would rank all of these, but yeah, that actually is kind of surprising.
I mean, the best we could come up with is that it was a Viagra induced hallucination. Pretty sure that's what it was.
That was you.
She's like, what the hell?
Huh?
It makes sense. We made it make sense.
Sure. Okay.
You know what's funny about this podcast is when you and I started Triv, it was very simple. It's like, this is this and this. And then Jacob came along, and that's when it turned into like Avengers and Avengers Endgame, and like it became convoluted. Now we're at a point where we just like, I think we just place things in places just to place things in place.
That's half the fun of it.
They put things in places to get me to shut up. I am the one that they'll be like,
how would you guys place this episode on the list? Don't just have my opinion dictate.
Number 13. Or sorry, number 14.
14.
Yes.
Why are you being trying to be nice to Jacob, True?
No, sorry, 15.
Why are you trying to be mean to me? Here's where I would go.
What, you're not going to say anything about the fact that I wanted to put it at 15?
No, because that takes over The Hitchhiker. How can you place it over The Hitchhiker? No.
Well, because I don't want to move per chance to dream.
Vaults per chance to dream up one more.
It holds it at 14.
Yeah, but if you place it at like 31, Perchance a Dream is still there.
That is true.
It doesn't
That
move.
is true. But I want Jacob to have that sense of oh
right. It was
damn
almost
it.
there.
We just need the right episode, I think.
It was just
Like,
almost. It was
it'll
right
feel
there.
right.
It didn't quite get there. It was almost there. Ladies, you probably know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
What?
here,
Wait, what the fuck?
Hot dogs. It's hot dogs. Lack of
What
mustard
about?
on hot dogs.
Almost there, just not quite though.
Alex, I promise you, I'm trying to like write the shift, and they just talk about hot mustard on hot dogs.
I don't know.
You need to
I'm
take
trying.
control of your
I'm trying to
I
help
know.
you out here.
Maybe we should have Alex be the runner of this podcast because she'll keep this shit in line, man. I'm telling you.
Got to grab the stick with both hands and take charge. Meek.
So,
Grab it,
anyways,
waggle your joystick.
Jesus Christ. So here's where I would place it. I think 31's a
I'm
good
not
spot,
playing that
but
fucking
There's actually an advertising campaign from years back that is straight up a real advertising campaign. I think it was for Sega, and it's something like if you search like waggle your joystick or something like that. It is the most sexually suggestive thing in the world. I don't think they're trying to be, but they definitely were, and it is like an allegory for masturbation in this 2-page spread in magazines. It's pretty bad.
It's
That's
an
really-
everything
Where
an
would you
allegory.
place it on the list? Anyway.
well,
She's
yeah,
like, get this
so-
shit over so I get out of here.
Yeah. No, here's what I would go. I would go a little bit higher. I think that we would go, for me personally, I would go under Elegy above Mr. Beavis. Mr. Beavis it's an episode that it has its humorous moments, but I feel is disjointed. I think when we start getting past when we start getting Elegy and above, I think the episodes start getting really tight in their progression.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like Third from the Sun has a great ending, as Jacob has always alluded to, but it has a terrible like kind of intro, and it's just that's kind of where I would put it. Like I said, that's me.
What number did you say?
I didn't even
20. It would put it number 25. That's where I would put it. But
I figured you would go
25 is a
lower.
better number than 24.
Yeah,
So,
right.
It comes after 24. 25.
25.
15.
See, hey, I got your SpongeBob reference. There you go.
I said it first, though. You
Well,
don't
I was
take
with
the
you.
credit.
I was on there with you.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, I didn't even notice Mr. Beavis was that high on your list.
Yeah,
I feel like I
unfortunately.
would have. Yeah. I would have. Is the Chaser the love potion one?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a great Tales from
Oh.
the Crypt episode. Not a good night Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was kinda- Sorry.
It's okay.
I
No apologies
would-
required.
Yeah, no, I think no, actually, I kind of like a 25 too. Now that I'm looking at the ones in between that and where
Like I said, this list makes
initially
no
was
damn
thinking
sense. So
of. It really doesn't, and I might throw hands. This isn't right. we gotta do over, guys. This isn't right.
let's
The
delete
only good
everything
thing
in
is
this
either Holder being number one. Like,
Yay.
like everything else, it's like concerning to an extent.
I'm okay putting it around like 25-ish. I don't really have a lot to add. It's got a nice ending. It doesn't have like a weird lady clock the way that Beavis does, but I can deal with it.
I guess it's my turn. So we're looking at 25 and 31, I believe it was, and 14.
14, 15 actually. 15.
I liked this more than the Chaser. The Chaser irritates me because it spawned something great, and it's just such an easy ass ending. Mr. Beavis was enjoyable, kind of harmless fun. Elegy was pretty good. Yeah, I'd be cool with like the 25-26 area. I'm cool with that. One of either of those, like right in there. I'm not going to be offended by either one.
Well, we need to figure out a way to offend him. Go 15.
Wait until we get to the invaders.
Terribly
I'll offend
offended.
them left and right.
I think Perchance a Dream should be like number 7.
It was at
Oh.
one point.
It was.
just
Yeah.
make it number
Way
I
up
know, I
there.
should have stayed there.
I'm very happy you guys derived joy from that episode.
But yeah, I mean, I think putting it right above Mr. Beavis I think that works. So
Yay.
Yay.
that was like the easiest, like hard thing I've.
The
That's what she
easiest
said.
hard thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's late, people. It's like 1:30 in the morning. So
The
Oh, suck
easiest
it up.
hard thing ever.
Anyways. So with that said, new number 25 is gonna be the Night of the Meek. You know, about the middle of the pack so far, close to it. You know, a couple weeks, they'll be the middle of the pack probably. So with that said, new number 1 is still Eye of the Beholder. Number 47 is The Trouble with Templeton. The next episode, which would originally have been of our year episode, but kind of got pushed back because I got sick, is called Dust, which I don't remember this episode at all, but it's directed by Douglas Hayes, written by Rod Serling, stars Thomas Gomez, Vladimir Sokolov, John Larch, John Alonzo, and some other people. There's a lot of people in this episode apparently. So
It's one of the Western episodes.
yeah, it says Old West, but
Does it have a Dick Tafone?
No, at least maybe it does. I don't know.
No.
Actually, Alex, while I have you here, do you remember this episode being any good?
I think in comparison to the other episodes that took place like in a Western setting, I thought it was pretty mid tier, I would say. It wasn't like my favorite, but it definitely was like pretty good for what it was.
Oh, cool. At least it won't be as, I mean, compared to like Mr. Denton on Doomsday, I guess. It's the last episode I remember being a Western.
Well, the one episode where the guy gets hung and then he gets teleported.
Oh, yeah,
that was kind of one.
That was a good episode.
Did that air before Dust or was it after?
No, it was before.
Yeah.
It was season 1.
Oh yeah. I liked Mr. Den a little more than the other one, but I think Dust is pretty. I just had to place in the middle if I were to rank those.
Okay. Cool. All right, so we'll look forward to that in the next week. But once again, thank you everyone for taking the journey for at least 1 year. Hopefully year 2 goes even better. And once again, it's been fun so far. So we have many more episodes to go. We're actually getting close to only having 100 episodes to go, which is still a third of the way through, which is pretty crazy to think about. But Alex, thank you once again for coming on. It's awesome. You definitely
having me.
Yeah, you definitely bring a great knowledge of the Twilight Zone and your fandom of it. So we'll definitely have you on again. What episode that is, I don't know, because we never seem to be able to
we
get you
will
on
figure
the
it
episode
out
that you want.
when the time comes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly.
You bring a class to our episode, and we do appreciate that. We are severely lacking.
I just enjoy the fact that you knock down drag out with Jacob.
Yeah, that's all we need. Knock out, drag out with Jacob. So
yes.
Anyways. So with that said, where can they find your content at? Like your videos and your everything that you post?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So it's just Alex Carson, which is my YouTube channel where we have discussions on multimedia, mostly film and TV. So it's just my YouTube channel, basically. So
yeah, and definitely check it out because, like I said, she has a lot of great Twilight Zone content as well, which she goes into depth of a lot of great episodes. So, Triv, you have lights and a anal raccoon trophy, as I say every week. Where can they, if they want to give you more trophies, where can they give you trophies at?
Well, currently I'm celebrating Festivus, as you can tell by the trophy and the lights. So I have several grievances to talk about with all of you. No, I'm kidding. You can find me here on YouTube at Trivial Theater. You can also find me on Twitter at Trivial Theater. I'm trying to do a better job of being consistent with uploads, but I haven't been very consistent with uploads. Up next, when I can finally get it done, will be a collab on Samurai Cop 2, which should be quite an interesting thing. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Samurai Cop 1 was, you did that one already, right?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, I remember that was a wild video. That was more wild. I think it's one of the most wild videos you've ever done. So
that was my first collab, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh man.
First collab of that, like an MST3K nature. So.
Oh sweet.
Yeah.
Jacob.
Yeah.
You like to talk about your theater experiences with your apparently million dates that you've been on with different people.
Dates and figs.
Yeah.
You guys bring them back, man. You guys bring all these memories flooding back. Maybe I should do like a talk. What do they call it? Like a story time video.
Oh.
Hey guys.
Yeah, the jolly times of his theater excursions, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say
put it in my OnlyFans. It's video of just fans.
But if they want to reminisce on the many girlfriends that you've had, apparently, where can they do that at?
Well, that's a totally different place, but you can find my video content that I do daily at YouTube or on YouTube at the Jacob Anders Reviews YouTube channel, where I have a twice weekly, I've been told, a tweakly show, a tweakly show called the Almost Awesome Show, where Nick usually joins me and sometimes some other people, and we talk movies, games, just entertainment, just news that's going on in the entertainment world. Sometimes we review stuff, sometimes we review bad stuff, good stuff, sometimes we review good stuff, sometimes we just do whatever the hell I feel like doing that Wednesday or Saturday, which is the days that it premieres, every Wednesday and Saturday, usually at 2:00 Central Time, and whatever time that is wherever you live. But please come check that out. And I got a request. I got actually in like 2 days, I got like multiple requests for audio. So it will be coming to audio feeds soon, whenever I make an audio version and put it up there. It really is.
Including his raving review of Perchance the Dream.
Exactly.
I feel like we need to
That's
go
a
back.
Patreon. I need to join Patreon just for that
Revisit.
segment.
Revisit that. Yeah.
Woohoo.
Dude, that
Check me out
actually needs to
there,
start
Twitter, all that stuff.
I say I need to start a Patreon just so we can make Jacob just review that episode. So it'd be like $1. Just give us $1
More
and we'll
than
make it
happy
happen.
to.
I'll give you $1. I'll give you this trophy too.
Join our $1 tier.
With that said, you can reach me at Movie Emporium. That's where all my content's at. Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff. That's where this podcast lies. We also have audio feeds on all the major outlets like Anchor and iTunes and Google Play and
Audio
Amazon
Boom.
Music and Cups of Uranus, apparently, for what they keep telling me to say. So
You say that yourself. You started that shit.
I know.
Because I
Anyways,
know.
so without further ado, for myself, Alex, Triv, and Jacob, we'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Peace out.
Adios.
Arrivederci.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call
You mean
this
like how
who said that to
you
you?
shit on Perchance to Dream while the rest of us know
Oh
it's
shit!
pretty good.
Oh, she's bringing the heat.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Shots fired.
Alex,
I
we
don't
might have to.
understand why you hate it so much. It's
I
not
like
that bad.
Now,
Hey, Triv,
all right,
we're gonna have
in
to
all
replace
honesty,
Jacob
the
with Alex now.
fever?
I like the idea of that episode. I really do. Like the whole idea behind it. I'm like, that's cool. That's not bad. I hate the execution. That whole thing, the dream sequences where he's on the roller coaster with the Liz Taylor wannabe cat lady and all that. I'm just like, get me the fuck out of here. Jesus, what is going on here?
I mean, that's
Is-
some fun shit though. Like, you don't want to be in that position as the guy,